on some fabric. Hey! I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna shoot you, go away. Chill. Jesus.
What's up, gamers? Coops here. Welcome to the video. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. Really appreciate you. Today we're taking a look at Ark Raiders, which is currently in its Tech Test 2. I'm not sure if we have an official release date for this game, but this beta is pretty well polished. I've been enjoying it for the last couple of days. I wanted to take a break, share some of my thoughts, share some gameplay before I get back into it. And one of the things that I think might be unique about my perspective is that I've only played this game as a solo raider. So far yet, and I might, try out the matchmaking when I still have some time this weekend. But so far, my experience has been going in solo. And I wanted to kind of not only report back on my thoughts of this beta as a whole, but also the solo raiding experience. I should start by saying that I am a console player, so I'm playing on the PlayStation 5, and for console players, there really isn't a very robust selection of extraction shooters. I know that for like some of the gaming community, there's almost this oversaturation of extraction shooters. Like there's almost like people who are like, we don't need more extraction shooters, we have enough of them. And I think that that's really fascinating because as a console gamer, extraction shooters are one of the things that that wave never really came to us. We have a couple of options. There's a free-to-play extraction shooter called Vigor, and then we also have Hunt Showdown, which is a fantastic game, but a little bit different when it comes to the extraction shooter formula. And besides that, I mean, unless you consider something like The Division Dark Zone to be, an extraction shooter, there really isn't a whole lot of choices for console players, at least not good quality extraction shooters to choose from. So I do think that there is an audience for this style of game, especially in the console market. And that's one of the things that I'm excited for, is to just have this sort of a genre of game available to me. Even if it's not something that I hop on and play every single day, it's still nice to have this sort of genre offered to console players, and I think that that's really great. So while I know that there are some people who are a little bit, less excited for these new extraction shooters that are coming out, I think that for us console audience players, this is really exciting. When it comes to the combat, I felt like everything worked really well. I'm going to go over some of my complaints shortly, but for the most part, combat felt pretty good. I really like the kind of scrappy, industrial look to the weapons that we have, at least in the beginning. All of these weapons, they look like they've just been, handmade, and I think that that has a really cool aesthetic to it. I do want to briefly touch on some of my criticisms of the game, because even though I do feel like this is a really well-polished beta, and I do know that this beta, I believe they said, is 2 months out, so that means that this playable beta state has been locked in this way for the last 2 months. So it means that they've had some time to make some changes and adjustments to some things before they're going to get our feedback from this beta. But I do think that there are a couple of things that really need to be ironed out before this makes it to a full live launch, and I can show you pretty clearly why with this example here. So here we've taken out somebody, we're looting the body, we hear some footsteps, and so somebody's above us. We're going to push into this room for some cover, and then I wanted to push up towards this wall and use that as cover to shoot around. And what happened was I just completely phased through the wall. Now, I don't know exactly what causes something like this. I don't know if it's just a discrepancy of the server picking up my position, and, you know, in that brief second, it reads that I'm on one side of the door and then I'm on the other side of the door, even though I just walked right through it, or wall, excuse me. But regardless, that sort of thing is really going to be kind of game-breaking for the immersion, for the intensity of this experience that they're kind of building towards. There's some other, you know, little hiccups and things, and, you know, graphical, I guess you could, like, that's not really a bug. That just seems like what's happening when I interact with that flower pot. And so some of these are, you know, charming and funny, and it's not too big of a deal, but completely phasing through a wall, that's going to be something that's going to really kind of turn people off from the game. So hopefully they can kind of zero in on that sort of element of the gameplay. The network and the latency and the tick rate and all that sort of stuff on the server side needs to be tip-top shape. One of the things as a console player that I found interesting was that there was no controller remapping. I can't customize the buttons of my controller to be how I'd like them to. I felt like the controls were intuitive, but I do think that it goes a long way for accessibility to have the ability to customize your controls. There wasn't even like a controller map to see what buttons do what from the options menu. Here we have our skill tree. I think that this is kind of cool and interesting. I'll be excited to see how some of these actually influence or impact gameplay once you have them fully leveled up. I don't know if this is going to be something that we can respec. I don't know if this is going to be something that there's going to be like a prestige, like once we fully max out our skill tree, can we reset it to, you know, go back to square one? Are there going to be seasonal resets, seasonal wipes for this game? So those sort of questions are things that we'll have to kind of, you know, wait and hear how they approach that. I do think that when it comes to putting together your loadout and jumping into a raid, I think that this is pretty straightforward for the most part. I do appreciate that there's a free loadout option. So if you're really, you know, strapped for resources, or maybe you've had a string of bad luck, you're like, hey, I don't want to risk anything. I want to just go in, just get me in the game. I just want to play. I just want to, you know, enjoy myself for a bit. You can jump in with a free loadout. It'll give you a random weapon, some ammo, some resources, so that you can just jump in and get to playing. And I think that's really great. And the trade-off there is that if you take a free loadout, you don't get any safe pockets. And so the safe pockets are kind of like our protective inventory slot, where even if we die, we get to keep what's in our safe pocket. So if you take a free loadout, you don't get any safe pockets. I do think that it's a bit confusing because the word loadout is used for like our whole inventory, like all the equipment that we're taking into the raid is considered our loadout. But then there's also an equipable item called a loadout. So I think that maybe they could change that to like a, I don't know, something stupid like a power pack. Like you're going to equip a power pack to your loadout, and that's going to give you increased inventory space, but it also takes away one of your safe pockets or whatever. But either way, the way that the loadout works is it just kind of beefs up the backpack space that you have. And there seems to be different quality of these loadouts. So the higher quality loadout that you can craft or can purchase, the more backpack space that you'll have available to you, the more, you know, efficient you can be on your runs. So I thought that that was kind of a neat system. I do want to circle back to the beginning. I talked about how I've been playing this as a solo raider. I have only gone in by myself. I've even done some raids going in with nothing but my crowbar hammer. No bandages, no weapons, no nothing. And those have been a lot of fun. I might make a second video just kind of showing off some of my solo no loot runs. But what I've experienced so far is that, so the game is up to 3 players on a team. I don't know exactly how many raiders can be in a raid at one time, but from my experience going in as a solo raider, I don't think that a single time I've run into a team of 3 raiders. I've run into a couple of duos, and I've run into a lot of solo raiders, or at least from what it seems. It's possible that they have a teammate in the raid, but that they're separated from them, basically almost playing as a solo. And so I think that that has been really interesting, and that's something that for me, as somebody who kind of wants to play this game as a solo, that's really been pretty cool to see, because it's not, I don't even have to, there's nothing on my end that I have to go through and say, I want to queue with solos only, or I want to queue with duos, or I want to turn off trios or whatever. I just go in how I would go in, and it just kind of makes the match happen. And it's felt very fair and rewarding so far. In the background, we were showing off some of the extraction options. So there's basically these big elevators throughout the maps. The elevators are your main way to get back to Speranza, which is like your base underground. In order to turn on the elevator, it's going to basically alarm the local area. So other raiders are going to know, hey, somebody's getting ready to extract over here. And I think that that's really cool, because it kind of can encourage engagements, which is really nice. But these elevators will periodically shut down throughout the course of the raid. And so you might have a plan to use a specific extraction, but by the time that you get there, it might be closed and you have to find another option. I think that that's really cool. And then there's also these raider hatches. So if you have a raider hatch key, then you can use the raider hatch, and it's basically an instant free escape. You don't have to worry about, the attention being drawn to you. As long as you have a key in your inventory, you can use the raider hatch. And again, as a solo, if I go in with a safe pocket available, I can bring a raider key, even if I have no loot with me, right? I'm going in on a melee only run. I have no loot with me, but I do have a raider key in my safe pocket. It means that if the run goes well for me, then I can use one of these raider hatches and have a less risky escape as opposed to using one of these elevators. So I thought that was really cool. Overall, I really like just I think that this is going to be a great game. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's been an awesome privilege just to experience it ahead of time, to kind of get a feel for things, and to know that this is going to be a game for me. This instance here, I wanted to point out, I don't know how I feel about this. So we're in our gunfight, we're shooting, and then after he goes around that corner, I get a notification that says knock raider out. So I know that he's on the ground. I know that I knocked him down around the corner. I don't really know how I feel about this. I don't know. Like, I can see both sides of the coin with this one. There's a part of me that's like, okay, I, as a player, I should not have that information. Like, I don't know that I knocked him down, unless there was maybe an audio cue that I could have listened for. Like when he took enough damage, if he let out like some sort of a moan or something, like and then I know, oh, I knocked him down, then maybe I would have known that. But otherwise, like, we're just two dudes on the other side of the wall shooting at each other. He stepped back for cover. But because the game notified me and let me know that he was down, it kind of changed my mindset in that moment, right? I'm no longer tense waiting to see if he's going to peek the corner or if I need to peek first. It completely changes the dynamic to, oh, you're down around the corner, I'm just going to go finish it off and then move on. And I can see this being a good thing, because yes, if you down somebody from like far away or whatever it might be, having that confirmation that you actually downed somebody is nice. But then it's also like, it's a lot of information, and I feel like information is especially in a game like this, information is power. And so that's a really powerful thing to know, that like, oh, I knocked that guy down. Especially if you're taking on let's say you're taking on two people at once, and then you get the notification that you downed one guy. It's like, oh, well, if I didn't know that I downed him, then I might have still been, my head might have still been on a swivel between the two locations of these players. But because I now have confirmation that I downed that guy, I can just focus on this guy. So that just seemed like a lot of information to me, and overall I feel like the XP indicators popping up on the left hand side of my screen I could just kind of do without. I don't necessarily think that it should be like me as a player. I have to turn that off because I think that disabling yourself from having crucial information is kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. Many players wouldn't do that, but I just feel like if they eliminated that XP notification system and just told you at the end of the match, oh hey, if you didn't know already, you actually downed 2 Raiders in that match, I think that that would be a better system. I'm wrapping up here. I know that this has been a little bit chaotic, long-winded. Hopefully you got something out of the video, but hey, even if you didn't, I still had a blast making it, and I'm gonna go enjoy some more Ark Raiders. I have been and always will be Coobs. Thanks so much again for being here. Peace and love to you, gamers. Remember, love yourself.